And again, I just don't know how you can continue to shoot at me and you underachieve.
Draymond ain't did nothing to nobody who's gonna do something to him, do something back to him.
That's what I was talking about earlier.
That's the list I'm talking about.
That's all. He ain't did nothing to nobody who's gonna do something back to him. And I said it on our show. Ain't nobody hit Draymond in shit.
But
Ain't nobody. He didn't went up for a layup, and ain't nobody took him out the air. Ain't nobody hit him. Ain't nobody stepped on his chest. Ain't nobody did anything that he's done.
Now this situation right here, it didn't just heat up, it erupted. Kenyon Martin and Draymond Green might come from the same cloth, but the moment Kenyon reportedly called Draymond a fake tough guy, everything flipped instantly. Draymond fired right back, labeling Kenyon an underachiever, and from that second on, the whole thing turned into a full-blown spectacle. And let's be real, when two men known for stepping into real confrontations throughout their careers start exchanging shots like this, you know the tension isn't just talk anymore. This feud isn't background noise. It's the centerpiece of the NBA drama cycle, and today we're breaking down exactly how the fire started, why it blew up so fast, and where this clash is heading next. Part 1. The spark that lit the fuse. We're in an era where NBA conversations are almost bigger than the games themselves, where podcast studios, live streams, and clips on social media act like...
And again, I just don't know how you can continue to shoot at me and you underachieve. Like, one All-Star? Make no mistake about it. You are an All-Star. I'll give you that. A lot of people can't say they're an All-Star, so I'll give you that. You're a one-time All-Star. That's beautiful. But you must admit, like, to be the player that you were and defender that you believed you were and to not have, like, a single all-defensive second team, it's kind of an underachievement.
Modern-day battlegrounds. Words swing just as hard as elbows now, and sometimes a single comment lands with more force than any flagrant foul ever could. What's unfolding between these two fierce competitors is everything fans secretly crave from modern sports media. Intensity, pride, rivalry, and those raw moments that feel too real to ignore. This whole clash took off in November 2025, spreading across shows and social platforms as debates about toughness, accomplishments, and legacy pushed both men into the spotlight like never before. We're talking about Draymond Green and Kenyon Martin, two strong personalities, two respected veterans of the game, and two men who just so happen to come from the exact same place, Saginaw, Michigan. Suddenly, they're directing fire at each other in a way that nobody expected, and that shared hometown history only makes the situation even more dramatic. Here's the twist that shocked everyone. Reports show there's no long-standing on-court beef between them at all. They played against each other only twice back in 2013, in games that barely mattered, and with almost no memorable plays between them. They didn't go back and forth during their careers, they didn't clash in the playoffs, and they weren't battling for fame at the same time. Basically, there's no real basketball timeline that should have caused this energy.
Held off on responding multiple times. Kenyon Martin was born in Saginaw, Michigan, born and raised in Saginaw. So the constant shots has been a little confusing to me because I don't quite know where they came from. And you think, you know, someone that was a #1 pick that didn't quite have the career that I've had when you talk Defensive Player of the Year, or 9 all-defensive teams that I have, and he has 0.
So the big question becomes, where did all this tension suddenly come from? How do two players with almost 0 shared on-court history end up in one of the most heated verbal battles we've seen in years? How do two men who grew up in the same city, representing two different eras of Saginaw basketball greatness, end up taking aim at each other like rivals? This whole situation feels like something deeper got triggered, something personal, something rooted in pride, identity, and legacy. And that's exactly what makes this story so electrifying. Let's rewind this whole situation because the moment things started spinning out of control is exactly where the real story begins. The timeline matters. Every comment, every reaction, every little spark added fuel to this wildfire. And once it ignited, there was no going back. Everything kicked off when Kenyon Martin went on Jill's Arena around November 15th, 2025, and dropped a line that instantly shifted the entire energy. He labeled Draymond a fake tough guy, claiming Draymond allegedly chooses confrontations only when he's confident the other player won't push back. That's a heavy accusation, and Martin didn't soften it for a second. He delivered it with full conviction. And then came the part that really set the basketball world buzzing. When the subject of the strongest, most intimidating players in NBA history came up, Martin revealed his list. Names like Charles Oakley and Zach Randolph, real old-school enforcers, but he completely left Draymond off it. Not a mention. Not a hint.
You don't even like double figures for your career. Like you can't, like that's your personal accolade. That's something that you are not doing or doing. You're single digits across the board. You helped, yes.
Nothing. Martin went on to explain that Draymond's version of toughness felt strategic rather than natural, and that's the moment the tension officially caught fire. Once Draymond heard these comments, everything changed. You could hear in his voice that this wasn't just some random criticism to him. This cut deeper. What truly stung was that it came from someone he grew up watching, someone from the same city he proudly represents. Draymond openly admitted he admired Kenyon Martin when he was young, so hearing that kind of dismissal hit him hard. So Draymond responded on his own podcast on November 21st, and he didn't hold back either. He dropped a line that instantly became the center of the entire debate, calling Kenyon Martin an underachiever. That word exploded across social media like a firecracker. Because let's be honest, when you bring up the fact that a #1 overall draft pick walked away with only a single All-Star appearance and not even one all-defensive second-team selection, you're deliberately touching a sensitive spot. Draymond was basically saying you had the tools, you had the opportunity, and you didn't reach the level you were supposed to. That's a bold message to send at someone who was expected to dominate from day one. But here's the key, Akka. This isn't just two players.
So we got Giannis, Anthony Davis, Dirk, Charles Barkley, Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan, Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, Chris Webber, Amari Stoudemire, Chris Bosh, Rasheed Wallace, Pau Gasol, Elton Brand, Antoine Jameson, Zach Randolph, Carlos Boozer, David West, Jermaine O'Neal, Sean Kemp, Derek Coleman, Clifford Robinson, Danny Manning, Larry Johnson, Vin Baker, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Al Jefferson, Drew Gooden, Josh Smith, Tim Thomas, Antoine Walker, Lamar Odom, Jason Williams, Horace Grant, Otis Thorpe, Paul Millsap, Juwan Howard, David Lee, Joe Smith, Al Harrington, Rashard Lewis, Brian Grant, Tom Chambers, Kevin McHale, Nene, and for giggles, you ain't better than Popeye Jones, Bo Outlaw, Reggie A.
Tossing casual insults back and forth. This is deeper. This is personal pride, legacy, hometown identity, and years of unspoken expectations all clashing at once. This feud didn't explode because of one comment. It exploded because two men with their own histories, their own reputations, and their own sense of respect felt like their character was being challenged in front of the entire world. The signs all point to this being a fresh, media-fueled clash that truly erupted in November 2025. A feud born in podcast studios, amplified on social feeds, and pushed forward by every new reaction clip and headline. It all started with Kenyon taking aim at Draymond's toughness, but it quickly mutated into something much bigger. Debates about careers, resumes, eras, and the definition of real grit in the NBA. But here's where things get even more layered. Draymond Green has dealt with criticism for years regarding his on-court confrontations. The kicks, the hits, the grabs, the incidents that turned into ejections and league punishment. He's been suspended multiple times, with reports saying he's missed more than 40 games because of those situations. So when Kenyon questions Draymond's toughness, he's not questioning some passive, quiet player. He's questioning someone whose entire public identity revolves around being intense, unpredictable, and willing to push boundaries. At its core, this feud is bigger than name-calling. It's a debate about what really defines a successful NBA career. Is it the rings? Is it the stats? Is it the accolades? Can you even compare two guys who played in completely different eras, under different rules, with different expectations? It's also about authenticity, about is Draymond's aggressive energy something real, or is it, as Martin suggests, selective and strategic? And Kenyon wasn't about to let that under.
You've been the ultimate glue guy. I am shocked and appalled that you don't have an Elmer's Glue sponsorship, brother. Because if you look it up in the dictionary, they should have your picture next to the Elmer's Glue thing, bro. Like glue, Draymond. Yes, bro. Absolutely. Every team needs one. I was asked to do certain things and play certain people and score. I was actually, you know what? I was actually asked to score for us to win.
Achiever comment float past him. Not a chance. What he did next instantly became one of the wildest clapbacks modern NBA media has ever seen. The very next day, November 22nd, 2025, Kenyon hopped on Instagram Live and didn't waste a second. He defended his entire career by pointing out the injuries he battled, including not one but 2 microfracture surgeries, procedures that have ended other players' careers entirely. He reminded everyone that he helped lead the New Jersey Nets to back-to-back finals in 2002 and 2003, proving he was a major part of those runs. But that was just the warm-up, because Kenyon kept going. What followed was a 23-minute rant that had thousands of people watching live, and millions more replaying the clips afterward. And he wasn't holding anything back. He was fired up, animated, emotional, and determined to set the record straight. Now we get to the part that really shook fans and analysts, the moment that turned a heated argument into a full-blown cultural moment. Kenyon didn't just throw out a simple comeback. He didn't deliver a short rebuttal or a calm explanation. He came with something that had everyone talking, something so bold, so unexpected, that the entire basketball world paused to react. Kenyon Martin didn't just respond, he went all in on Draymond Green's game. Instead of staying on the toughness debate, he shifted everything toward pure basketball ability, dropping the line that instantly shook the room. "I can name 200 people better at basketball than you." Then he hit Draymond with another punch, saying, "Green wouldn't have made a roster being at your skill set." And to top it off, he threw in that old school declaration, "When I came into the NBA, we played in the post where real men played."
I was actually asked to put that little round thing into that other little round thing. Like, for real, like they asked me to do, they ran plays, like, for me, like, to go do. I just wasn't a passer. I wasn't sitting there finding guys and 2 of the best shooters of all time.
That wasn't just criticism. That was a direct shot at Draymond's entire place in NBA history. Let that sink in for a moment, because Martin was essentially arguing that Draymond, a 4-time champion, a Defensive Player of the Year, and a core part of one of the most successful dynasties ever, wouldn't have even made a roster in the early 2000s era he came from. In Martin's eyes, Draymond isn't just overrated, he's completely outclassed by the physical, paint-dominated forwards of that time. And he didn't stop there, not even close. Martin doubled down and started listing power forwards he believes were better than Draymond, firing off names one after another like he'd been waiting years to unload this. This wasn't a quick clapback. It sounded personal, intense, and calculated. People were stunned at how long his list went on. He reportedly named over 50 players, including guys like Popeye Jones and Bo Outlaw, players many casual fans wouldn't even recognize today. Yet Martin stood firm on the claim that all of them were better pure basketball players than Draymond Green, and that bold stance had fans arguing non-stop. Think about how wild that is. You're talking about a 4-time champion being ranked behind role players from 2 decades ago, and Martin meant it seriously. That's not a small jab. That's a full rejection of how today's game measures value.
Act like we don't
take
talk
up
about
for your
Draymond
boy.
on this couch.
Is he the reason you got that ring?
Yeah, I did. And you the reason you ain't got
Take
one.
up
You
one.
the
Take
reason
up
you
one.
ain't got one.
Take up
Nigga
one.
got more
I
rings than
stand on
everybody
mine.
in your draft. He got more than everybody in your
I
draft.
stand on mine.
Let's stand on the draft. Number 1 draft.
And
This
stand what
draft.
Kenyon. You stand on
Draymond
Kenyon
came
did.
out. Let's just
Stand
keep
what
it real.
Kenyon did.
Let's keep it real.
Stand on what
If you want to
Kenyon
talk
did.
about, let's talk about
Real shit.
yeah,
What
let's
Kenyon
talk
did.
about shit.
What Kenyon did.
Jason Kidd carried your up here. You didn't help.
Who let the team score?
Impact and winning. But here's where this entire feud actually gets interesting. Kenyon Martin isn't just throwing names for attention. He's making a deeper point about what basketball really is at its core. Is greatness defined by winning, rings, and doing whatever your team needs to take home a trophy? Or is the game truly about individual skill, scoring, dominating one-on-one, carrying a team, and proving you're the most talented player on the court every single night? That's the real debate beneath all the noise. Impact versus talent, rings versus skill, role versus star power. And that's exactly why this feud exploded the way it did. The heart of this whole conflict comes down to a generational clash. 2 completely different definitions of what greatness looks like on the basketball court. Kenyon Martin represents the early 2000s era, physical, bruising, back to the basket basketball, where scoring in the paint and overpowering your man was the purest proof of skill. Draymond Green represents the modern NBA, versatility, defense, playmaking, switching, and fitting into systems that revolve around space, analytics, and shooting. Kenyon is arguing pure basketball skill, putting the ball in the basket, creating your own shot, dominating on the block. And if those are the rules, he does have an argument. His career scoring average was 12.3 ppg, noticeably higher than Draymond's 8.7 ppg. But when you flip the criteria to rings, defensive accolades, and overall playoff impact, Draymond destroys him. 4 championships to 0, 9 all-defensive selections to 0, and far more postseason influence.
Dog, listen, dog, y'all want talking hard with this footless brain fog. Kenyon, where you got fog going on?
I never seen him up. Always right.
And then Kenyon dropped what might have been his sharpest point of all. He reminded everyone that he was actually asked to be a primary scorer on the teams he led. Meanwhile, Draymond spent his entire career playing next to 2 of the greatest shooters the game has ever seen. In other words, Kenyon was suggesting that Draymond's success is tied directly to his situation, that he was in the perfect environment at the perfect time, while Kenyon shouldered far more scoring responsibility with far less superstar support. That's the argument that really stings. The idea that Draymond didn't build his legacy, he benefited from it. That he's been elevated by Steph Curry and Klay Thompson his entire career. And you could feel the tension rising because that line of thinking cuts deep for a player whose pride comes from doing the dirty work that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. But hold on, this feud didn't stay between just Draymond and Kenyon. Nick Young, yes, Swaggy P himself, couldn't resist jumping into the fire. He appeared on Gil's Arena on November 25th, wearing a Warriors jersey just to stir the pot and provoke Kenyon even more. And this is when things shifted from heated to personal. Nick Young straight up told Kenyon that the reason he doesn't have a championship ring isn't bad luck, isn't injuries. It's because he didn't deliver when the pressure hit its highest point. Nick threw in another jab saying,
Both of y'all have been to anger management, and rightfully so. And I've played with both of you, and you both need it, and it's also both of your guys' superpower, that intensity. Draymond, you would have talked how you talk, because that's who you are. But if you would have talked like that to Kenyon in 2004 when he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with his chest out saying, "Bad yellow boy," y'all would have fought 100%.
Draymond played alongside a top 5 point guard and won, and that Kenyon also played with a top 5 point guard but still couldn't secure a title. He even added that maybe if Kenyon focused on his role instead of trying to score so much, he'd have a ring too. Those words hit hard, and the energy in that studio instantly shifted. Kenyon wasn't amused at all, and you could practically feel the air tighten. The moment Nick pushed the conversation in that direction, this wasn't a basketball debate anymore. It was personal pride being challenged in front of everyone. You could practically see the pressure building in Kenyon's face. The man looked like his patience was hanging by a thread as the studio got more hostile by the second. When he fired back, "I played with Jason Kidd for 3 years. I did my job." You could hear every bit of frustration behind those words. But Nick Young didn't back off at all. He snapped right back with, "They got rid of you, so obviously you didn't." And that's when Kenyon completely lost his cool and told Nick to be quiet, unleashing pure irritation without crossing the line into anything physical. This wasn't just a normal back and forth. You could feel how personal this was for Kenyon Martin. To him, this wasn't simply about Draymond anymore. This felt like someone minimizing his entire 15-year career, everything he worked for, everything he battled through, all coming from a player he likely didn't see as being on his level. The tension was real, sharp, and impossible to ignore. But here's the context people often forget. Kenyon Martin wasn't some average forward. As the #1 pick in 2000, he was a high-flying scorer and an enforcer, a player who helped lead the New Jersey Nets to back-to-back finals appearances in 2002 and 2003. And in that 2003 finals against the Lakers.
But just know this, Dre, I will respect Kenyon because I fought him in a locker room. Dre, if he would fight Tracy McGrady and he would fight Karl Malone and he would fight damn near anyone in the NBA, you and him would have fought. And that's kind of what Kenyon liked. And you would have been okay with it. But make no mistake, if you would have tried to talk to him like you've talked to other players, that would have never been allowed.
He averaged 22 points per game, proving he could step into the spotlight when the stakes were highest. He was physical, explosive, and fearless in an era defined by collisions in the paint. But with all this chaos, Draymond firing shots, Kenyon firing back, Nick Young pouring gasoline on the flames, someone needed to step in with actual perspective. And who better than a person who played with both Draymond Green and Kenyon Martin? Enter Richard Jefferson, teammate of Kenyon on those early 2000s Nets teams, and teammate of Draymond during their modern NBA years. On the Road Trippin' podcast, Jefferson urged both men to take a breath and recognize what the real issue was. Not disrespect, but generational differences and competitive personality clashes. And what Jefferson said wasn't soft. It wasn't, "Let's calm down." It was a warning, a very direct one. Jefferson flat out suggested that if Draymond had said these things to the 2004 version of Kenyon Martin, it would not have stayed verbal. There would have been a real confrontation. No hesitation, no discussion, no chances for clarification. Just instant consequences. That's not exaggeration. That's coming from someone who actually went through it with Kenyon. Richard Jefferson wasn't just analyzing, he was speaking from experience. This is a man who got into a locker room fight with Kenyon Martin.
And Kenyon, Draymond is special. He's annoying because all the things you don't like about yourself, you see in him, right? He's annoying. He is the most important defender of this generation. Draymond is. So stop disrespecting each other, start to support each other, and squash this. Because y'all both a little different, but what y'all both accomplished is game-changing.
So when he says Kenyon wasn't someone you pushed the wrong way, he means it literally. Jefferson reminded everyone that Kenyon wasn't scared of anybody in his era. He had no problem stepping to players like Karl Malone or Tracy McGrady, stars with serious reputations and physical strength. Kenyon didn't pick fights, but he never backed down from one either. If things went left, he responded immediately. And that's the part fans forget when they compare eras. Draymond is fiery, emotional, and vocal. But Kenyon? Kenyon came from a time when confrontations were handled face-to-face, not analyzed on podcasts afterward. Jefferson's message was clear. This feud might be entertaining for fans, but historically, it could have gone in a very different direction if the timing were different. Richard Jefferson didn't sugarcoat anything. He made it clear that if Draymond had talked the way he talks now back in Kenyon Martin's era, things wouldn't have stayed verbal for long. Jefferson praised what Kenyon brought to those early 2000s Nets teams, especially how he anchored a top-ranked defense during their finals runs. But he also warned that the way these two men compete, the way they express themselves, and the eras they come from could have led to real physical confrontations if they had overlapped on the court. And here's the reality people keep forgetting. Kenyon Martin wasn't just intense, he had a fully documented history of reacting the moment he felt disrespected. One of the clearest examples came in 2004 during a Nets win over the Clippers. Corey Maggot shoved him after a hard foul, and Kenyon instantly fired back with punches. Both players were ejected and handed 2-game suspensions. That's who Kenyon was. He handled conflict right away. No hesitation, no second thoughts. And that wasn't the only incident. Throughout his career, Martin collected multiple suspensions and fines, including a 2002 suspension for elbowing Reggie Miller. The league hit him with penalties totaling hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. Kenyon later explained that in those moments he entered a zone, acting on instinct, fueled by a fearless mindset that didn't allow him to back down from anybody. This was a player who wasn't intimidated by anyone. He confronted Karl Malone, one of the strongest players of all time. He clashed with Tracy McGrady. He even got into it with teammates when tensions rose. So when Richard Jefferson says Draymond would have had serious problems talking like this to the 2004 version of Kenyon Martin, he's not guessing. He's speaking from direct experience. Jefferson lived it, he saw it, and he wasn't exaggerating for entertainment. But Jefferson wasn't just delivering warnings, but he was trying to pull both men back and remind them of the bigger story here. Because the truth is, these two players have more in common than people realize. And on that point, Richard Jefferson is absolutely right. Both Draymond Green and Kenyon Martin come from Saginaw, Michigan, a city known for producing competitors with grit, heart, and relentless drive. Both men built their reputations on defense, intensity, and doing the jobs their teams needed to win. Both were the emotional core of the squads they played for, the spark plugs, the vocal leaders, the ones who set the tone. The feud itself highlights a deeper divide, the classic NBA generational split. Martin's era valued physicality, toughness, and dominant scoring in the paint. Draymond's era values switching, playmaking, versatility, and the chess game style of modern basketball. They're speaking from two different basketball realities, even though the fire inside them is practically identical. And that's why this entire clash feels so explosive. Not because they're opposites, but because they're mirrors of two different eras, carrying the same competitive spirit. Martin's era was built on post play, bruising contact, and hard fouls. Draymond's era is built on versatility, switching, spacing, and reading the floor like a chessboard. Two completely different styles, but both men showed up every night ready to compete with everything they had. And when you lay out their careers side by side, the picture becomes a lot clearer. Draymond Green has 4 championships. Kenyon Martin has 0. Draymond has 4 All-Star selections. Kenyon has 1. Draymond has 9 All-Defensive Team nods. Kenyon has none. Draymond has 1 Defensive Player of the Year award. Kenyon has 0, but Kenyon does hold his own in scoring. He averaged 12.3 PPG compared to Draymond's 8.7, and in the playoffs he averaged 12.9 compared to Draymond's 11.4. So who's the better player? Well, that depends entirely on what better even means. If you measure greatness by pure basketball skill, creating your own shot, scoring in isolation, dominating a defender one-on-one, then yes, Kenyon absolutely has a real argument. That was his strength, and he did it in an era where interior scoring mattered far more than today. But if you measure greatness by impact, by winning, by elevating everyone around you, by anchoring one of the most successful dynasties in NBA history, then Draymond wins that discussion instantly. His defense, leadership, and IQ were key pieces of a run that changed the entire league. The truth is, both players are exactly what their eras demanded. Kenyon Martin, a 2000s power forward, thrived in a slower, more physical NBA where size, strength, and post scoring ruled the floor. Draymond Green, playing from 2012 to the present, excelled in the pace and space era, where his combination of defense, passing, and switching earned him a Defensive Player of the Year award in 2017, and a reputation as the emotional core of a dynasty. And that's why this whole feud is so compelling, because neither one of them is completely wrong. Martin is right. The physicality, the banging in the post, the confrontations, the constant collisions of his era hardly exist today. Players had to survive a level of contact that modern rules simply don't allow. But Draymond is right too. The ultimate goal of basketball is winning. Full stop. And he has 4 championship rings to prove that what he brought to his team mattered at the highest possible level. At the end of the day, both of these men devoted their lives to the game. Both competed with intensity, heart, and pride. Both sacrificed, both delivered, and both left an imprint on the teams they represented. They succeeded in different eras using different tools with different expectations, but they both earned respect in their own ways. And here's what we can't overlook, and this feud didn't stay small. It pulled in former players, media voices, and fans everywhere, turning into a much bigger conversation about toughness, roles, accolades, and how we judge greatness across eras. But even with all the jabs exchanged, the tension is still verbal, and multiple people, mine including Richard Jefferson, have pushed for reconciliation and mutual respect between 2 men who gave their entire lives to this game. Because at the end of the day, this is what happens when fiercely competitive personalities collide. These are individuals who lived and breathed basketball, who sacrificed everything to climb as high as they could, and who now find themselves debating what greatness truly means. And guess what? There's no simple answer. Both sides make valid points, and that's exactly why this feud has become so captivating. But what really matters, and what Richard Jefferson stressed, is the respect that both of these men have earned. Draymond Green and Kenyon Martin contributed massively to the league, each in their own way, in their own era, with completely different responsibilities and expectations. They both deserve recognition for what they accomplished. Regardless of who you believe had the better career, right now the feud still hangs in the air without a real resolution, and the back and forth continues to influence how fans discuss legacy, toughness, and basketball identity. But one thing is undeniable, this clash sparked one of the most engaging debates about NBA greatness we've seen in a long time. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Is Draymond Green an overrated role player who benefited from the Warriors system? Or is Kenyon Martin a frustrated former star who feels overlooked in today's conversations? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's keep this debate alive. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with somebody who loves NBA drama, and let me know what you want to see next. I'll see you in the next one.